All right, hello. We are all finished with Charlotte's Web. And so for now, we're going to enjoy some picture books for a little while. So we're going to talk about our next part in our reading interactive notebook is going to be about context clues in fiction stories. So fiction, remember, is stories that are made up, make believe. They can sound very real, but they are not actually like the complete true story. And context clues are when you might encounter a word that you don't know what it means, and then we look into the rest of the story to get clues of what it might mean. So we're going to be looking for opportunities for that in our books in the next week or so. And so today I wanted to share a book with you called Verdi. Let me get the camera going so you can see the cover. All right, here is the book Verdi. Hopefully you have not read this book yet, and that way it can be kind of exciting for you to share this for the first time. All right, Verdi by Janelle Cannon. She is the creator of the book Stella Luna. Does anyone know what Verdi means? It means green, and that's why this whole cover is green. All right, we have a lot of green. Verdi. Okay, I'm going to let you focus on the picture, and I'm going to focus on the text. On a small tropical island, the sun rose high above the steamy jungle. A mother python was sending her hatchlings out into the forest the way all mother pythons do. So hatchlings, we may not know what hatchlings means, but it goes on into the sentence to talk about this snake is a mother, so those must be her babies. Grow up big and green as the tree's leaves, she called to her little yellow babies as they happily scattered among the trees. But Verdi dawdled. He was proudly eyeing his bright yellow skin. He especially liked the bold stripes that zigzagged down his back. Why the hurry to grow up big and green, he wondered. Maybe some of the older snakes in the jungle could tell him. Verdi ventured into the treetops to look for them. All right, so he dawdled. So then it's talking about how he's just sitting there admiring himself. He's not going like the others. Hold it like that. Maybe I'll take the glare off a little bit. Umbles, Aggie, and Ribbon were lazing on some branches nearby. Verdi peered at their droopy green bodies. It's not polite to stare, chided Aggie. So Verdi peered must mean that he was staring at them. Umbles burped and groaned. It's taken nearly 4 weeks for that last lizard to digest. I surely do like lizards, but lizards don't like me. Why don't lizards like you? Asked Verdi. Don't interrupt, Umbles grumbled. Dear me, whined Aggie. If I don't shed soon, this itchy skin will drive me bananas. Verdi tapped a tune with his tail as he waited to speak. Stop that, Verdi. It makes me nervous, Ribbon complained. Besides, you'll never grow up to be properly green, always interrupting and constantly fidgeting. Verdi couldn't imagine being in such a hurry to be like them, and he really wanted to keep his sporty stripes. Hoping to find snakes that weren't so boring, Verdi slipped away. Dozer was snoring in a tree not far from the others. Hello, said Verdi. Do you want to climb trees with me? I'm tired, Dozer growled. Go do a few laps around the jungle, okay? Verdi's heart sank. Greens were not only lazy and boring, they were rude. At the top of a very tall tree, Verdi gripped one branch with his tail and another with his little snake jaws. I will never be lazy, boring, or green, he thought. I will jump and climb and keep moving so fast that I will stay yellow and striped forever. Then Verdi let go. So he's holding on here and he bites that one. What do you think is going to happen? Then Verdi let go. And he's flying. How's he feel about it? He looks pretty happy to me. From a distance, the Greens watched. "Oh my," they chorused. Ribbon shook his head. "At this rate he'll be lucky to make it to his first molt." Aggie nodded. "He's likely to put an eye out on a branch." Umbles moaned. "He may not live to turn green." But one day, Verdi's skin began to peel, revealing a pale green stripe stretching along his whole body. "Cack!" he gasped. "How can this be? I'm the speediest snake in the jungle, and I'm still turning green." He raced down to the river, grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. Verdi flung himself into the water. "If I can't run this green off, I'll scrub it off," he thought. He's rubbing those dry, scratchy leaves on his skin. His frantic splashing caught the eye of a large bottom feeder cruising the murky depths. "Yum," the old fish hummed. "Lunch." Before the fish could haul Verdi under, the frightened snake bit him on the nose. "Ah, pooh!" With a blast of his rubbery lips, the great fish sneezed, sending Verdi into the air. Slapping onto the soggy shore, Verdi skidded out of reach. "Whew, that was close," he sputtered. Every inch of his body was covered with wet, gloppy mud. Kind of lumpy, kind of brown. It sure beats being green." He left the mud on. But the soft brown muck dried into a hard gray shell, and Verdi could barely move. If he even budged, the stuff cracked off in jagged chunks. As each piece fell away, Verdi could see that his body was even greener than before. "This is terrible," cried Verdi. He pictured himself hanging around in droopy loops, itching and complaining and worrying all day like the old greens. He looked up into the sky where the sun blazed a beautiful yellow, just the color he used to be. Then he pulled a vine to the top of the tree. Launching himself from the treetop, Verdi startled a flock of colorful birds. He became dizzy with delight, sure the bright sun and his lofty speed would turn him golden again. In his joy, Verdi forgot he would fall back to earth. Uh-oh. Whippity-whappity, whip-whip-wham! Plummeting through the trees, Verdi landed in a crooked sprawl across a log on the forest floor. So where they said the word sprawl, then they put it across a log. He couldn't move. "Help!" he croaked. As usual, the Greens had been watching Verdi's antics. They moved quickly to where he lay. "Didn't we say it would come to this?" Umble said, shaking his head. Aggie sighed. "Lucky thing he's still got two good eyes." They gently lifted Verdi up to a safer place where they could watch over him while he healed. "Oh, that's very nice of them." Cradling him gently. Neatly splinted to a branch, Verdi had no choice but to listen to the Greens as they gabbed. So splinted means they've tied him down. It shows you that he's tied down to the branch so that he can heal and not move. "Remember how I used to streak across the forest floor?" Ribbon asked. "Quick as lightning," answered Aggie. "And I climbed giant trees like they were nothing. They grew taller than, the things I dared to run down and swallow," Umbles bragged. "Wild boar were no match for me." Verdi was astonished. "You used to run and climb and hunt giant pigs? What happened?" "Ribbon crashed, just like you," Aggie replied. "I took a terrible fall and almost put an eye out. Then old Umbles here nearly choked to death. Now we all prefer the quiet life. A warm perch, a little sunshine, and an occasional good meal." The greens rambled on about their days of glory, and Verdi settled in on his branch. Finally, one afternoon, Umbel said, "Looks like you are ready to go again." He carefully untied Verdi from the branch. "You are welcome to come with us," said Aggie. Ribbon agreed. The three greens slipped quietly back into the forest. Verdi wasn't ready to join them. He wasn't sure where he wanted to go, so he just stretched and stayed put until the sun went down. He listened to the forest come alive. There's all the things going on as the forest is coming to life. Some things are just so camouflaged and hidden. There's even a leaf bug right here on this leaf. You can see it now. So he's right up here. Time passed. The sun and moon took turns in the sky. Verdi marveled as the full moon grew thinner every night. Then he watched patiently as it slowly grew round again. He wondered why he hadn't noticed that before. Verdi became so green that he blended perfectly with the leaves. He was so still that other creatures walked right by without seeing him. That might be why there's an advantage for him to camouflage. One fine morning, as Verdi basked in the sunshine, two small yellow snakes approached. They tapped and fidgeted as they stared. "Get a load of that old green guy," one of them whispered. "Do you think he ever moves?" The other snickered. "I seriously doubt it." "They're just like I used to be," thought Verdi, "and I'm now what I was afraid to be." He looked at his big green body and slowly smiled. "How would you like to climb trees with me?" he asked. "With you?" The yellows were astounded. "I'll even show you my fancy figure eight," Verdi replied, though he was a little worried about putting his eye out. With practice, the three snakes performed a perfect triple figure eight. Leaping and looping with his little striped friends, Verdi laughed. "I may be big and very green, but I'm still me." And then this book has some snake notes about facts that they have about snakes in the book. All right. A nice story to remind us about how we need to remember who we are, even though we change and grow and mature and develop into different people as we grow, just from remembering who we were on the inside. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed our read aloud today. Our question for today's reading is going to be about our book today. So I'm hoping that you haven't started your reading question. If you did and you need me to reset it, let me know. But please make sure that you've listened to the read aloud before you do your reading question of the day. And I'm sure that you've already heard that when I mentioned it in the morning message. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening.